All right, so this video is to get you started on doing your rendering for your 1/2 inch floor plan. And I've done some pre-work to get ready to share with you some ideas. I think, you're working on your 1/2 inch scale floor plan, but also this can be a great way to get started on your perspective as well. And I want to explain why I'm saying that. When you take a look at the original drawing, what I did was I took the original drawing and I made a copy. And from there, for this living room is the one I'm going to do the example of. This one, I went ahead, I measured some of the distances away, and then I went, oh wait, it's best to have that grid. Especially the grid because of the perspective coming up. But in some areas, it didn't quite fit the grid, and I wanted to be a little bit more exact when I put it into the drawing. But for those of you doing it in CAD, it isn't necessarily a matter of figuring out where to put it. But in here, for your perspective, this would be a good idea. And what I did was I even made an extra copy. It's just kind of a crappy quality here with the darkness, but it's enough to work from. It's all it really matters because I just happened to use my home printer to save time. Okay, so this is just an example. I'll probably use this copy when I do later demos on the perspective where I'm going to talk about plotting out these circles. That's actually one of the reasons why in my sample floor plan, I did that so that I could show you guys how to do that, but that'll come in later videos. Okay, so we're going to start with the floor plan. Now, when I did it, I've got different templates available because I'll still want to use those for outlines. I've gathered some of the markers that I think will work and pencils that will work. I printed out one of the boards from your fellow classmates, so thank you, Olivia, on this one. And you can see she did a great job here of explaining the walls, the floor. When it would be good to have a ceiling on here as well, so we want to make sure that that gets put on. But nice context to the client, getting the focus. What is the room you're doing? What is it you're trying to convey? And then the designer. So I think that's a great grouping on that. We know, of course, that these letters will correlate with the finish schedule. Even in this printout, I'd say the colors are turning out quite well because it's in that exact piece. You don't really need the extra fabric or materials. But if you think that it's something you want to jazz it up a little bit, maybe a small wedge of the brass to jazz it up. She's even insinuated some plans here. We talked about ways you can remove the background should you want to do something like that. She's got the trim work here to understand. Remember, too, you can always have just a simple colored chip. She just chose to show it this way in profile. But some good things to start. Like I said, the only thing here I would probably indicate is what the ceiling is going to be. And then you'll have an idea. So when we work from the living room drawing, the next thing I have to do to get started with color rendering is I'm going to work, of course, from my drawing, and we're going to do that in 1/2 inch scale. And then you think, okay, what is the paper that I'm going to use? If you go back to your original supplies from Lighting and Color, you would have the 9x12 marker paper. However, and I wanted to show you this too, when I went to go ahead and lay it out, it's pretty tight. I mean, it's just barely fitting, and I can't do the context to the walls that continue with the break lines, and that's an important part of reading it. The title block you could always insert into the image. That's not really a big deal, but it is cutting off here, so we need to go bigger. So what I have is the marker paper just in a larger pad, okay? This one, I'm trying to show you a variety of things here. Let me see if you can see this. I'm trying to go tight in here, but this is marker paper, and it's the 19 by 24 inches that I've selected. I've got a light in the way, so I can't quite turn it, but it's 19 by 24, and I've got sheets here. I don't know if you guys would want to order it on the roll, if they'll sell it by sheet at an art store, if you wanted to go in together on purchasing it. But by doing that, it means that I'm going to be able to cover over what I need to do and fit the whole thing, and I can always trim it back. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start by tacking this down. I generally like to do that ahead of time, but I wanted to show you how the thoughts on that paper, because now this gives you time to get that paper ordered if you hadn't thought that far ahead, okay? All these things come up, and sometimes you're knee deep in the project, right? And just trying to get it done. So just a little bit of planning ahead. You know, maybe you've got a classmate who's got Amazon and you could order it. Maybe you know of an art supply store nearby who might even sell it to you by the sheet. You'll need it for this, and then you're going to need it for your perspective. And I'd probably suggest a couple extra sheets to do that. Now, when we're doing it on the marker paper, I'm always encouraging you to not bother drawing it all out, whatever technique you want to do, but just to make sure, because I've got to make sure you can see this as well. But you'll see there's the picture underneath it. So I'm just going to render on top and then do my outlining, much like we followed along with on our elevation videos of this 03 and 01, the micron pens, okay? And I'll go ahead and do that at the end. So I've got this sample board that I'm going to work from, and in the plan view, hey, woo, we don't have to worry about the brick walls yet. I'll do a later video about that if we need a little refresher from last semester with the elevations. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to concentrate on this floor. And I am going to use that original paper that I had as a resource by doing a little bit of a color study here. Now, you may want to be looking at it on the screen. I just know my screen times out, so that's why I chose to print it out. I'm playing around with some of the colors, and I'm going to keep near me what it is that I'm using. So this particular one was they called it a brown gray. We've got salmon pink here. I'm going to go over that, still going in that manner. And it looks like it's just too light. You really can't see that so well. So I'm going to put that off to the side so I don't get mixed up with what I want to use. This next one is called Flax. Okay, that looks like, let's see what happens if I do it over top of it. It's not too bad. We know that color is subtractive in nature, right? So we have to make sure the more we put down here, the farther we may end up working away from it. So far, I'm happy with these two. And you, of course, you may have your own technique. I'm just trying to show you different ways that I would approach it. It's always worth it. Oh boy, I think I found it. It's always worth it to spend a little time and plan. So this particular one is called Pale Caramel. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run it where I've got board idea. And when I'm doing this on the drawing, I've left it on the drafting board so that I can use it. Even if you're doing a computer and you print that out and you want to go ahead, I would tack it down so that you can use the lines of your drafting board. And then what you can do is you can go ahead, you could go across to create your planks. You could use your board as your guide also to make sure that your lines are straight, and that way you won't have to do. But I'm pretty happy with this, and I don't want to go over too many times, but now what I'm not going over can start to seem like it's light, and you just go through and do something along those lines if I need to. So this one I'm happy with. And with this is a 30% French gray. I could always go over and streak it, right, to get sort of that washed look. And also, you know, don't underestimate that beauty of that number 2 pencil, where maybe you're going to come in and put in some grain every so often. And we're working in 1/2-inch scale, so this is really nice. I'm just going to go in and sporadically put in some of the veins that I'm seeing, because she's got such a great picture here, and it's to the proportion that we would need in it. So we really appreciate this great example. Okay, So if I'm taking a look, it's going to be something like that, where I've taken the pencils marks and put them in place. And that can be a way for me to get started. And then also by having it tacked down on the board, it'll give me a chance to, and I'll just do a couple little tacks here, because the more I can plan this, I've also got to spread it out across a broad area on that floor. Luckily, we're not doing the whole floor plan, but we do want to make sure that it's something that we can do long, broad strokes so that it looks consistent. Okay. And then this is going to be, now I'm going to try this 03 to get started. I think I left the cap off on my 01, so that may be dried out. Let's see what this is like. Yeah, it's dried out. Well, not too bad. Looks like I'll have to find another, I'll have to get another one. All right, that one's not so dark, but let's just see, maybe the 3 will be good enough. Let's see what happens with the 3. All right, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to make some decisions about, do I want to show the boards all the time? Maybe where I stop and start this line is going to insinuate the fact that the boards, the plank ends. All right, so I can do something like that and get closer and closer to what I need on it. Right. And when you get done then, here's the comparison. I'm going to even just fold it here to show you. Right, so not too bad. Getting close to it. Like, I might add a little bit more gray, but I'm going to do it in pencil because then the medium won't be as subtractive. But pretty darn close for this to give the client a good idea. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stop the video. I want to grab an 01 to see if I like the plank spacing in the 01 instead of the 03. And then I'll start the video up again, and then I'm going to show you about rendering that floor. I would start with the floor. Usually we draw things that are closer to us, but because I could take the lines and go here and they may overlap, I can easily do that on top. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plan it that way. Now, one of the things you'll notice is I have round tables. Of course, Livia's doesn't. This is her plan, not mine. Of course, I would need those pictures on this sample board as well, but I thought I'd merge the two examples. So what I will do is I will base these round tables here all as this driftwood color. So, all right, go ahead and I will stop, and then I'll start up on another video.